Every month, you hand the gas station around $160 just to keep driving. And right now it stings more than usual because gas is nearly $4 a gallon, up more than 20% from last summer. Over a year, that's roughly $1,800 to $2,000 straight into the tank. Now, Tesla owners say charging at home makes most of that bill disappear. But here's the catch. Cheaper to fuel is not the same as cheaper to own, and three things decide whether the savings are real. So here's the scorecard: the pitch versus what it actually costs you. Because there's one kind of driver this saves a small fortune, and one kind it barely touches. They're nothing alike, and one of them is probably you. Think about your last fill-up. You probably handed over $50 or $60 for a single tank, and you'll be back there next week doing it again. That's a car payment for some people, a week of groceries for others. Now stretch that across a full year. Drive about as much as the typical American, roughly 13,500 miles, and those fill-ups add up to around 500 gallons. At today's pump prices, that's close to the $2,000 we just talked about. Now notice what is pushing that number up, because none of it is your fault. Gas spiked this year after the Strait of Hormuz was shut down and oil supply got tight. You didn't cause it, you can't fix it. But every time you pull up to the pump, you pay for it. Let's lock in the first row on our scorecard. The pitch is lower fuel costs. What it actually costs you today is roughly $1,800 to $2,000 a year in gasoline. That's the number home charging has to beat. Now let's see how much of it actually disappears when you plug in at home. Here's the other side, and it is priced in a completely different world. When you charge a Tesla at home overnight, you are not buying gallons, you are buying electricity, and electricity is cheap next to fuel. The average home electricity rate in the US is about 18 to 19 cents per kilowatt hour. For that same 13,500 miles, a Tesla Model 3 costs roughly $650 to $700 to charge for the entire year. Not every month, the entire year. Against roughly $1,800 to $2,000, we just locked into the pitch side of the scorecard. That is about 2/3 off your fuel cost. Here's what that actually looks like. Filling a Model 3 at home costs about $12 for a full battery. That's a couple hundred miles of driving for about the price of 2 coffees. The same trip in a gas car can easily cost $35 to $40. That's where the savings stop feeling like math and start feeling real. The reason is simple. Most charging happens overnight when electricity is at its cheapest, which brings your driving cost down to roughly 4 to 5 cents a mile instead of about 14 cents on gas. Some utilities even offer special overnight EV rates that lower the cost even further. Your car is filling up while you sleep at the cheapest price you will pay all day. But here's the catch we promised you at the start, and it is the one that matters most. All of this depends on your electricity rate. Expensive power narrows the gap. Solar can widen it, sometimes close to free. So there's no single honest answer for everyone. Before you believe anyone's headline, including mine, check what you are actually paying for power. And the cheap side of this equation is getting less cheap every year. Home electricity rose more than 7% this past year alone, and it is expected to keep climbing. Because even at its cheapest, home charging comes with a bill most people never see coming, and it lands before you have driven a single mile. So the fuel saving is enormous. Now here's exactly where it shrinks, and where most people get the math wrong. Because every number we have shown assumes one thing: you are charging at home. But the day you leave the house for a long drive, that whole equation changes. You pull into a supercharger and the price climbs. Fast charging runs about 30 to 45 cents per kilowatt hour against 18 to 19 at home. In real terms, a road trip charging stop can cost you $15 to $25. That's why you should never blur home charging and supercharging together. One is genuinely cheap, the other pushes your cost much closer to gasoline. Then there is the $7,500 from the government that many buyers still expect. It's gone. That federal EV tax credit ended on September 30th, 2025. Today, there's no federal purchase credit for a new Tesla. A smaller tax deduction on qualifying U.S. built vehicle loan interest exists, but it isn't the same thing, and it certainly isn't $7,500 in cash. So if that credit is part of your budget, take it out before you do the math. And then there is the bill waiting before you've even driven your first Mile. Remember the hidden cost we mentioned? This is it. A home wall connector runs about $450 before installation, and the installation itself adds even more. The federal credit that once covered part of that cost expired at the end of June this year. Today, the full setup comes out of your pocket. So update the scorecard on fuel alone. Home charging wins easily. But the total cost of owning the car is a different story, and right now it is filling up with everything the fuel number hid. The road trips, the dead credit, the charger you pay for upfront, which brings us to the one line that matters most. Cheaper to fuel is not the same as cheaper to own. Both are true at once. Because there are really two kinds of people watching this right now. For one, this is the best money move they'll make all year. For the other, it's a bet that takes years to pay off. So, which one are you? Let's answer that. If you drive a lot, charge at home overnight, and pay a reasonable electricity rate, you're in the first group. And this can be one of the best financial decisions you'll make. Mileage changes everything. Every extra mile you drive is another mile you're not paying gasoline prices for. That's how a fuel saving of roughly $1,300 a year becomes real money in your pocket. If you commute every day and charge at home each night, gas almost disappears from your monthly budget. But zoom out for a second. A Tesla is cheaper to keep running. No oil changes, fewer parts to break, less wear on the brakes. The catch is what happens before you drive it off the lot. It costs more to buy than a comparable gas car, and with the federal credit gone, that extra cost is fully on you now. So how long until it actually pays for itself? Let me level with you. It depends on the exact car, your state, and how much you drive, so nobody can give you one clean number. But for a typical driver, that fuel saving usually takes somewhere between 4 and 7 years to cover what you paid extra up front. Drive a lot, and you get there faster. Drive a little, and it drags out. And for some people, it barely works at all. If you can't charge at home, the equation changes quickly. Apartment living often means relying on public charging, which can cost 2 or 3 times more than charging in your own garage. Expensive electricity narrows the gap even further. And if most of your miles come from road trips using superchargers, you are giving back a big part of your savings. So here's the final scorecard. Fuel savings, real, large, and hard to argue with. Total cost of ownership. That one is entirely on you on how much you drive and whether you can charge at home. The pump wasn't lying. It just wasn't telling the whole story. And now you know exactly which side of that line you're on. So let's land this in 3 honest takeaways. 1. Charging a Tesla at home genuinely slashes your fuel bill, and right now, with gas sitting near $4, it slashes it hard. Roughly $650 to $700 a year at the wall against roughly $1,800 to $2,000 at the pump. That half of the pitch is completely true. And it is not only fuel, an electric drivetrain usually costs less to keep up too, with no oil changes to book and less brake wear over time. 2. The tax credit is gone. Road trip charging is not cheap, and your electricity rate changes the whole picture. So the ownership math is a lot narrower than that fuel number alone makes it look. Cheaper to fuel, absolutely. Automatically cheaper to own. Not so fast. 3. If you drive a lot and charge at home, this is a clear win, and every month gas stays this high, it becomes a bigger one. If you drive a little, rent, or practically live on road trips, treat it as a longer-term bet instead of an instant saving. That's the honest answer. No hype, just the math on your own driveway. If this cleared it up for you, do the 2 things that keep this channel going. Hit like and hit subscribe so the next one finds you. And there's one more twist coming, and it flips this whole thing on its head. What if the battery sitting in your garage did not just back up your house, but actually paid you by sending power back to the grid when it needs it most? Tesla has a program that does exactly that. That's the next video.